We are talking about one of the weirdest, most grotesque episodes in the entire history of the Vatican. Seriously, this is a story that sounds like it was ripped from a horror movie, but believe me, it is 100% true. So let's just start with a really simple, almost ridiculous question. Can you actually put a dead body on trial? I mean, it sounds completely impossible, right? A legal and logical black hole. But what if I told you it actually happened? That's right. Back in the year 897, a formal trial was held in Rome. You had the accused, the charges were read out, a verdict was delivered. The only tiny little problem was the accused had been in his grave for 9 months. Just let that sink in for a second. This wasn't some spontaneous act of insanity. Nope, this was a planned, thought-out legal proceeding against a man who was long, long dead. And it was all driven by an unbelievable thirst for revenge. Okay, so how on earth does something this bizarre even happen? Well, to get it, we need to look at the wild political feud at the center of the story. A grudge so deep, so powerful, it literally reached beyond the grave. Let's meet the main players here. On one side, you have Pope Stephen VI. He's our accuser and our judge, and he was apparently just consumed by this boiling political hatred for the guy who came before him. And on the other side, well, that's Pope Formosus, the accused, who was, a corpse. And yes, this absolutely bonkers event has an official name. It's called the Cadaver Synod. It was the formal, posthumous trial of Pope Formosus, a dark and twisted show put on by his successor, Pope Stephen VI. So, how exactly do you get a corpse ready for its day in court? Well, the procedure was every bit as ghoulish as you can imagine. The whole process was just surreal. First, they actually dug up the decaying body of Formosus. Then, they dressed his remains in the full, fancy papal robes. After that, they literally propped him up on a throne in the courtroom, as if he was still alive. And to top off the whole farce, a young deacon was assigned to hide behind the throne and shout out answers for the corpse. Just try to picture that scene. You've got Pope Stephen screaming accusations at a decomposing body, and some poor, terrified deacon is yelling answers back, pretending to be the dead pope. It is a moment of pure, unfiltered, historical absurdity. With a stage like that, the outcome was, let's be honest, never really in doubt. This had nothing to do with justice. It was all about humiliation and completely destroying a rival's memory. The verdict was coming, and it was going to be grisly. The official charge leveled against the corpse of Pope Formosus was perjury, along with some other stuff related to his time as pope. And to absolutely no one's surprise, the verdict handed down by Pope Stephen was guilty. A dead man was now a convicted criminal. And the punishment? It was absolutely brutal. First, the corpse was stripped of its holy papal robes, which was a huge symbolic gesture to nullify his power. Then came the actual mutilation. They specifically chopped off the 3 fingers on his right hand, the very fingers a pope uses to give blessings. See, this was a calculated move, a vicious way of saying that every sacred act he had ever performed was now void. And for the grand finale of this whole horrific affair, the mutilated remains of Pope Formosus were unceremoniously thrown into Rome's Tiber River to be washed away and forgotten forever. At least, that was the plan. But the story doesn't end there. Not even close. You can't put on a spectacle this gruesome and expect people to just shrug it off. The Cadaver Synod absolutely horrified the public, and that wave of disgust was about to come crashing right back down on the guy who started it all. The people of Rome were just appalled. They didn't see this as justice. They saw it for what it was, a sacrilegious, insane act of tyranny. Public opinion turned against Pope Stephen VI, fast and hard. His little theater of cruelty had backfired big time. And talk about a reversal of fortune. Pope Stephen VI, our judge, was overthrown in an uprising, thrown in prison, and later strangled to death in his cell. Meanwhile, the body of Pope Formosus, the corpse, was apparently pulled from the river by his supporters and given a proper burial all over again. And this isn't just some weird footnote in history. The Cadaver Synod is remembered for its sheer brutality and strangeness. It really stands as a wild testament to how far political hatred can go, earning its title as probably the most gruesome legal proceeding in the entire history of the Vatican. So, what do we make of all this? It really makes you ask where the line is. Was this some twisted version of political justice? Was it an extreme act of personal revenge? Or was it just a complete and total descent into madness? The scariest part is, the answer is probably a chilling mix of all three.